Welcome back to the Contrarians, where we pick the wrong album every time. So as a quick refresher, we've been away for a little while. We like to have a friendly debate on maybe an album that is not the most typical choice. Today we're going to be discussing The Clash, but before we get into that, Martin, what have you been up to lately?
Well, just kind of working away on the books. I have had my Van Halen book came back in print, Unchained, a Van Halen user manual. Got a Rainbow book as well. Don't have that handy here, but yeah, this is back in print. I've got a few copies of this available still for Christmas, and the brand new one is Holy Smoke, Iron Maiden in the 90s. My 80s book, Where Eagles Dare, is now sold out, but I do have this. This just came in last week, I believe. So yeah, just kind of working away still on books, and right now I'm working on a Merciful Fate book that's almost finished and ready to go for layout. So yeah, that's it.
Wow, that sounds great. So I understand you have a contrarian choice for the best Clash album.
Yes, so again, to reiterate, what we do on this show is we pick a band, and when one of the three of us, we've got Marco as well, which you've seen in other episodes, what we do is when we have a band that's our favorite band, but we have a choice of an album that's our favorite album by that band, that's kind of a weird choice, then that person can put their hand up and say, let's do that one and put me on the hot seat. So in this episode, we're doing The Clash because I have a choice that's not the typical choice for favorite Clash album, and it would be this baby right here, Give 'Em Enough Rope.
Wow, okay. Don't hear that very often put forward as the best album.
No.
You know, obviously I would say that the argument has to be made that the most commonly believed best album would be London Calling.
Yep, we've got a picture of that right here. Not a picture, but in the actual album. My original copy. Actually, all of these are my original copies that I got. There's my Clash book, all the albums, all the songs, which I did a Zeppelin book same way. I basically had to write 400 or 500 words on every single Clash song. But yeah, so these are all my original Clash albums. But there's London Calling, and you're right. I mean, London Calling. I love London Calling. It's absolutely a super favorite of mine. I mean, but I always, you always get into this debate about do double albums have an unfair advantage? Because I also pick Led Zeppelin Physical Graffiti is my favorite album of all time sometimes, and Clash London Calling is way up there. But no, Give 'Em Enough Rope. I love this record for a number of reasons. Again, I love that it is a single album, and I think percentage-wise, yeah, there are songs on London Calling that I'm not crazy about. Revolution Rock, Lovers Rock, Brand New Cadillac, Jimmy Jazz. So there's enough on there that are just like, horns or too rock and roll or too reggae or something, or too jazzy or swingy, that, percentage-wise, even though it's one of my favorite albums of all time, I really do find maybe there's almost a quarter of it, a whole side of the four sides that I'm not that crazy about. But when it comes to this record, I swear, I think probably only Guns on the Roof is the only song that I don't love on this album. And it's got 10 songs on it, Safe European Home, just cool rockin' tune, English Civil War, Tommy Gun we used to play in our band. We actually played Tommy Gun, another one, and a Brand New Cadillac off of this in our band in the 80s. But I love the mellow songs on here, Stay Free, which is a Mick Jones sung song, Julie's in the Drug Squad, which is kind of a mellow one, but it's a Joe Strummer sung song.
It is a great song.
Yeah, All the Young Punks, another pretty mellow one, Last Gang in Town, a cool rock and rollsy one. So I just really appreciate this one for how rock solid it is throughout. I'll have more to say, but I'll let you speak for a little bit.
All right. So it's an interesting choice of words, rock solid, because I think something I've read a lot, and I really believe, is that London Calling is the Clash saying, we're a punk band, and we still have our punk sensibilities at heart, but we're going to show you that we can make a better rock and roll album than all of the rock and roll bands out there. Like, it's such an eclectic mix of sounds. You mentioned things like Jimmy Jazz, Brand New Cadillac. Those don't sound like punk songs. Like, they really don't.
Yeah.
But they bleed punk attitude just right through it. Like, they're throughout that entire album, there's this great line of dancing between sarcasm and just earnest emotion. And I think you mentioned Brand New Cadillac, and that's a perfect example. Like a song is like it's so cool rockabilly type do 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 and Elvisy that it's almost making fun of itself,
Yeah.
and that makes it a really really fun time. And I think it's something like you won't find that anywhere else in the maybe Sandinista a little, but it's an album that is almost making fun of itself, and you can have fun with it, and you can experience all these new sounds that you never would have heard. Like there's nothing like hateful on Give 'Em Enough Rope,
Yeah.
And I love Give 'Em Enough Rope. Like Drug Stabbing Time is one of my favorite songs, and it's so catchy and it's so simple.
Yeah.
And they're amazing at that really great catchy chorus verse, but with an artistic integrity. And I think that Give 'Em Enough Rope is really a great example of that. But London Calling is them saying we're getting rid of all the safeties. Yeah. We're getting rid of all the boundaries, and we're just gonna throw everything at the wall, and whatever sticks. And I think it all sticks.
True, yeah. And you think of the Clash, the tag name on the Clash, the only band that matters. And in a way, it's kind of true. Or how they call Rolling Stones the greatest rock and roll band in the world, or Aerosmith America's greatest rock and roll band. Yeah. You listen to London Calling and you think this is the greatest rock and roll band of the moment right now. And the production's great and all that. But production's an interesting thing, because Give 'Em Enough Rope, there's always that apocryphal, everybody sort of, let's go back a little. So basically, people have said punk died the moment Clash got signed to CBS. That's a funny trope that people say. It's 1977. It's still pretty darn early. I mean, that punk started kind of late 75 into 76, but the records didn't start coming until 77. And then, America is even a little slower in a way, except for the Ramones, I suppose. Dead Boys is 77, but by 78, I think a couple of things are going on. I think people are jealous of the hype on the Clash, and so there's always been a little bit of a backlash, a little bit of sniping that was a little bit too planned in the clothes and all that. But the other thing that people complain about this record is that it's produced by Sandy Pearlman, Blue Oyster Cult's guy, and all that kind of stuff, and it's the heavy metal Clash album and stuff. I don't believe that for a moment. I mean, it's a little bit heavier than the sum total of what you get on the debut. And the debut, I love the debut as well, but I find it a little bit too raw and a little bit too broken up, and the production seemed to be uneven across it. But, so this is a little bit of a heavier album, but I like the fact that the songs are a little longer. There's a maturity there. There's just a little more going on. There's breaks and choruses and all that. But yeah, it is pretty relentless and pretty rocking. And even when it's mellow, it's kind of up tempo, and there's a good energy coming from the drums. But yeah, I mean, I really love every single song on it. And the other thing is, I would say, the godly nature of the Clash, where they're basically, oh my God, these guys are as good as anybody in the world, Bruce Springsteen, whatever you want, off of London Calling. The songs that I love off of London Calling, I can't say that I love them more than my favorite songs off of Give 'Em Enough Rope. So, we've been a heavy metal show here on the Contrarians, and, we do a lot of heavy metal stuff, and like I say, this one's considered the heavy metal Clash album. Again, that's going too far, but I think it is the heaviest Clash album, I suppose, because later there's no contest. I mean, really, it's only this one and the debut that are up for grabs on the heaviness feature. But yeah, I don't know. Any other points you wanted to make about this?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, it's a wonderful, it's a kick-ass album. Mm-hmm. Kick-ass is the best way to put it. And I probably shouldn't be admitting this, but like, I'll find myself singing along to Julie's Been Waiting for the Drug Squad or Drug Stabbing Time more often than I'll sing along to actually London Calling, or even like Rudy Can't Fail.
Yeah.
But when I was going back and listening to both these albums, the one that evokes an emotional response from me that's very complex and specific is London Calling.
Yeah.
There's something really magical about the cognitive dissonance, almost like it's very intelligent punk.
Yeah.
They're making fun of, in a lot of these songs, the lyrics are all basically, corporations are bad. You know, people are kind of screwing their lives up, and it's very a bleak outlook.
Yeah.
But they're very happy and upbeat songs. You know, like
interesting.
what's the one?
I love Lost in Supermarket. I love Train in Vain.
Yeah,
you know,
Lost in Supermarket is a perfect example. It's a very earnest and sad song. If you listen to the lyrics, though, it really paints a picture of how terrible society is.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a happy song, but when I listen to it, I feel happy, even though it makes me sad.
Yeah.
And I don't think that as precise and awesomely crafted as all the songs on Giving Enough Rope are, none of them can really give me that emotional depth. They're much more fun songs to listen to, but they don't make me feel as much. And I don't really have too many technical things to go with that. And I have a few notes here, but you know, they're mostly just regarding to the fact that London Calling obviously did much better and is much more widely known. Like, Give Him Enough Rope, it says it reached 128th on the Billboard albums in the United States in 1979, second place in the UK album charts in 1978. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a weird year, right? Punk's kind of over. Most bands are going post-punk. One of the funny things about this is that so many bands we loved as punk bands by 78 were making very non-rocky albums. Like, they were going mellow. Boomtown Rats went mellow. Saints went mellow, not in 78 but the next year. And so a lot of bands started making lighter albums, and the Clash kind of made a heavier album, which is kind of interesting. But we should probably point out that some people would probably pick combat rock, believe it or not. I think so. I've heard that before, and I really don't like combat rock very much. I mean, I like a few songs on it, but I just don't like all those sound effects, and it just sounds lazy and atmospheric and not enough guitar and not tight enough.
Yeah, I think that has the Dictator on it, right?
Wait, Dictator might be Cut the Crap, actually.
Okay, it's a very similar sound. I think that's the only song with that sort of stuff
I mean, these records are kind of similar, and then of course this has the Compromised Band lineup, and it's just way more sort of programmed. But you know, Sandinista is the interesting one that a lot of people play the game. You know, like through university. I remember you used to, you want to play God and go, what if I could make this just a double album instead of a triple? How good would that be, right? And if you could pick your own double album off of that, it would rival London Calling. It would be as cool as London Calling. But it's almost as if they made the expanded edition album right away, instead of going and like, here's our extra songs that we put on the the expanded CD later on. So I agree with everybody else that there's a record's worth of stuff there that could have just been lopped off. I mean, some of the songs are reprises of other songs and dub versions and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if I could make my own double version of that, it would be as cool as London Calling, because I just love it so much. But yeah, to me, it's a little bit like that when we argue about Black Sabbath Sabotage being better than Physical Graffiti, and they were able to do with one record what Led Zeppelin took 2 records to make. 2 of my favorite albums of all time, but I almost feel that here too. It's like, okay, this one has the handicap of being only a single album. Because we tend to just remember how many great songs we love off of a record, right? So if you got a double album, there's going to be more, right? So I just love the fact that this is just chock full of amazing, great Clash anthems, just gritty, a lot of Joe singing on it. And like I say, there's only kind of the one song that I'm not crazy about. I love everything else. So.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say. I can recognize that there's a lot of stuff on London Calling that's just really weird, that I just love. Like Guns of Brixton is a weird song. It's just really weird. I love it. It's not for everybody. So I think in this case, there won't really be a clear winner, but I think we can both agree that Given Enough Rope, probably one of the best punk albums they ever made. London Calling, probably the best rock album they ever made.
Yeah, very cool. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Let's agree to disagree on that. Very cool.
I think so.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, please. That helps us out a lot. And remember to stay tuned. We're going to have more and more news about the Mystique documentary that features Martin right here in it. And click that bell if you're not getting subscription notices, and it'll let you know when our new videos come out. Rock on, guys. Have a good one.
All right.